My name is Neasa O'Connor and I'm the College International Recruitment Manager for the College of Science, Engineering and Food Science here at University College Cork. And today joining me is Dr. Kellie Dean, and she is the Programme Coordinator for our Masters in Molecular Cell Biology with Bioinnovation. And Kellie's just going to give us a bit of information about the programme and why it might be a good option for you, okay? So Kellie, just to start off, first of all, obviously, thanks for joining me today. And I just love to know, really, every time, I suppose, I ask everyone, what kind of makes the program unique?
The MSc in Molecular Cell Biology with Bioinnovation is really an interdisciplinary program. There's a very strong science component. However, we also have an entrepreneurship innovation side to it as well. And unlike a lot of programs, it's really a collaboration across actually three different colleges. So the students have a lot of choice, and I would say the core of it really is the scientific component, and then the addition of certain classes from the College of Business and Law have really allowed the students to start to think about science as a potential entrepreneurship opportunity and to see kind of where they can contribute in that space.
I know from discussing with you and other students that obviously, a major component of the masters is the 6-month research project.
Yeah.
I know students would be really interested in learning a bit more. So could you tell me about this and maybe some examples of what students might do for this component of the masters?
The research project is really at the heart of the program because students are often coming in not really knowing exactly what research is about. So there's a huge component that is the 6-month research project. So students, unlike other programs, really have the choice. So what we do is ask students to get in touch with supervisors. Now, a lot of our projects, the majority are offered at UCC across the schools of biochemistry, cell biology, microbiology, also Department of Anatomy, Neuroscience, but there are other investigators involved. And the students are asked to talk to supervisors and maybe contribute to the design of their own project. They submit a ranked list back, and what we try to do is match the supervisor with the student according to their choice. So the students have a huge amount of flexibility in terms of what they actually do for the research project. We also have a very nice ongoing collaboration with Janssen, and each year they contact me directly and ask for students to apply for positions in industry. And this has really been led by actually two former students who are Janssen employees that came to do the masters. And this has led into a really nice collaboration with Janssen. So there is an industry option. There are projects at UCC. We also have a collaboration with the EMBL in Heidelberg. So there are a lot of different choices. And I really see the research project as, an opportunity for the students to find the best fit so they get the best research experience possible. So I would say, I'm also a supervisor on the program, and I have supervised now 3 master students myself. And one of my master students now is doing a PhD in Denmark. Another was hired by Eurofins, and another one just finished. So I would say the projects are very, they're very high end. You're immersed completely in a research laboratory. It's not, a pre-designed project. You're fully immersed into the research group that you enter. And that is really the key. So it's an independent research project. It's not something pre-designed. And I think students really benefit from this experience. It's many times the first time they've really been immersed in a research lab. And, that's very different than maybe doing something in their undergraduate course.
That feeds really nicely into another very important aspect for students. Obviously, a huge interest for students is job opportunities out of a master's and where they're going to go next. And obviously, you've mentioned that there is a level of kind of industry engagement with regards to the research project. Could you, Kelly, tell me a little bit more about the actual, I suppose, different job opportunities and maybe the range of job opportunities, in particular, maybe with industry as your students graduate?
Fortunately, in biological science, there are massive opportunities. Cork, as a region, is very strong in biological science and also pharmaceutical biotech industry. So even though we have a nice collaboration with Janssen, there are many, many, many more companies that are within the region. And as the program has been going for 10 years now, we're recruiting for our 10th cohort. I now have a very nice alumni network of students who are in various companies. And they look after the incoming students. They send job opportunities to me, which I pass on to the class. So we have a number of students in, companies like Regeneron, Janssen, of course. Many students stay on after their project there. There are some in Biomarin. There are some in smaller kind of SME, kind of startup companies. And I would say, the job opportunities and the market at the minute, it's been consistently strong. I mean, I've seen it over the past 9 years. Students oftentimes are hired immediately after finishing the master's. In some cases, I remember one student hired essentially 2 weeks after she started the program into a graduate program with Biomarin, and she's still there. So I think it's a real opportunity for students. And I think a lot of things, what I hear back from students is that companies really like the business aspect of the degree. And I have spoken with people at Janssen, and they say that really is a very unique part of the program. And students, it's not necessarily that they're going to take over and run the marketing for Janssen, but they have a real understanding of how business operates. And that is a real advantage when looking for a job, but also sticking in the kind of science, biotech, pharmaceutical industry.
Because there is a business component, and I know you've mentioned that students don't necessarily end up running the marketing or running kind of the commercialization aspects, like job titles themselves, is it mostly working in R&D, new product development, new product introduction, or is there kind of other kind of, I suppose, job titles or areas that students are going into in addition to those traditional kind of routes?
A lot of them do kind of quality assessment and bioassay kind of stuff. So because they have a very strong research background in cell-based assays, like it's a very good fit for that. I have had a student kind of go more in the law regulatory side of things. So I think once in industry, it is very easy to transition between different positions. Once you are, in the company and you understand kind of what is happening with your job, you can move laterally quite easily in companies. So I think there are a lot of opportunities. And yeah, most of the students starting out would go more for quality assurance kind of positions, again, like cell-based assays, but then maybe move more into technical kind of roles after they've been in the company for a few years.
My last question for you today, which is, I suppose, something that I always like to ask people because it's just more of an interesting question sometimes for students. What are your students liking the most about the program?
I could think of three things really that the students really like. First of all, we have a strong emphasis on science communication and writing. And one of the classes is called Journal Club, where we read recently published articles. Now, I would say at first, the students do not like this because I push them quite a bit. And it's getting used to reading scientific articles in a very critical way. and they just haven't been pushed in that direction before. So the students work as groups, they have to present together, and they're presenting research findings, but they're also presenting kind of the pros and cons of any research work. This is challenging at first, but the difference I see between the start and the finish is phenomenal. And students often at the end of the program comment on how much they've loved having Journal Club, and that was a different way of thinking, and being pushed in to think very critically about science has been something they hadn't been experienced before. So I think the other thing is the modules kind of move from more fundamental biology to very clinical and very applied kind of science. So another module has a lot of clinical input. And again, I think the students really like this because you're hearing from clinicians who are interacting with patients. You hear about the challenges that they face in the treatment protocols, and how can bench science move medicines forward for new treatments, and to really benefit all of us, and to benefit patients in particular. So students particularly like that. Of course, the research project is the heart of the program. And again, I can think of many students at the end, because there is the research project, there's a thesis, there's a presentation, all involved with that. It's very much introducing students into how does science operate. We do experiments, but we also have to write about them, and we also have to talk about them. So they're fully immersed in that kind of environment. And I think it is challenging. It's not an easy program, but at the end, I have been there on the day that the thesis is coming in, and students have said, this was so worth it. It was worth it. It's an investment. It's a challenge. It's about pushing yourself. But I know from experience that students will absolutely gain from this program. I have seen it time and time again that it moves the student forward in their career, and allows them opportunities that they maybe didn't have right after the end of a bachelor's degree.
I really appreciate your point. I suppose, from my experience working in recruitment, having that 6 months research and independent research under the student's belt is incredibly important going forward, whether they pursue a career in industry or for further research, because they kind of have that kind of experience behind them, and they can really talk, I suppose, quite independently on their own experiences in an interview as well. So yeah, look, I think today, great points about the program, and I hope the students listening will consider it as a really good study option for them. Okay, thanks, Kellie.
No problem. Thank you.